listened to us as we campaigned during this period. I must say that the campaign is a very tedious experience, and it's so traumatizing when you hear voices, after looking for those votes, and you hear that voice looming over your head and neck. Every now and then you hear a voice saying, "I'm going to rig. I'm going to rig." It was looming over oral elections, and I think that is the most disturbing thing in every campaign. I wish people could understand that. I think that's all I have to say about the strategies, but of course there were many things. Strengths decide weaknesses, decide etc. But I must also say, I think the events of 23rd ignited people, recharged people's batteries, and said, oh, this is how some people want to play around with our will and expression. So I think I found my brother saying it was a protest among other things. But secondly, it was a show of confidence, who you have confidence in, who you want to choose, how do you want to choose, and how you want to assert yourself as a community. People wanted to assert their authority, which emanates from the Constitution. Of course, there was some form of some rigging to an extent. It was not as bad as it was on 23rd.
Okay.
I think that's all I can say. I think even the Electoral Commission this time was a little more organized.
No, but the thing is, I think in many ways that the conduct of this election was going to go a long way in either reclaiming the image of the commission or actually damaging it.
It was on trial.
I think, it was on trial, so they had to get it right. So it was important for them to get it right.
It was on trial, the police was on trial. I think everyone was on trial.
All right. Of course, in the last election, the February 23rd election, it was cancelled. We saw you counting votes very early in the morning. Let's move forward.
No, actually, they were cast earlier. If I was counting them early in the morning, then they were cast earlier, and the law provides counting must not begin before voting cannot begin before 7 o'clock. So what you saw me count were not ballots. Ballots must be cast by some people.
All right. What kind of mayor can we expect to see in Lukwago? What kind of person is he going to be in the?
No, actually, the person is summarized by the law, Lord Mayor.
Nicholas, what kind of mayor do you think? The personality, we've seen the personality, we've seen his strengths. People see him many times as a people's person. He has a heart for suffering people, market women, and so on and so forth. What kind of mayor do you think we're going to have?
You see, first of all, you've got to understand the context in which the next mayor is going to work. And I think the context is a lot different from the context in which all the other previous mayors have worked. Now, first and foremost, he's not going to be called the mayor, he's the Lord Mayor. He is the mayor of mayors, because every urban division now...
It's not his worship, it's his lordship.
It's his lordship.
Yeah.
All right.
Every division chairperson is now going to be called the mayor, because that's what the new law provides. So the chairperson of Makindye, of Nakawa, of
Dr. Ian Clark.
Dr. Ian Clark is now a mayor. Yeah, he's now a mayor.
Right.
So Mr. Lukwago, Honorable Lukwago, is going to be the mayor of mayors. Now, but that's not the point. The point that I want to make is that in terms of the actual powers of a mayor, we see a mayor that is going to operate under an ED appointed by the president.
An executive
alongside.
Okay, alongside the ED, yeah, thank you. Alongside an ED appointed by the president, an ED who is accountable to the authority and the minister, not just the people of Kampala. So the ED isn't accountable to the people of Kampala. That person is accountable to the minister and the authority, Kampala City Council Authority. So the Metropolitan Authority. Yeah. So you're going to see a mayor that is working alongside a very powerful ED, an executive director of Kampala appointed by the president, but also an ED with a lot of powers, vast powers. The powers to appoint officials or staff members of Kampala City. So these powers are powers that in many ways will overshadow the powers of the mayor, and the mayor will be a slightly less powerful mayor. It will be a voice of the people, but will not have controls over many things at Kampala City.
Let's put it very simply. One of the problems, it doesn't represent the magnitude of it, but one of the problems we have is buildings are erected and they don't even have parking underground, and yet that's the law. To what extent can the Lord Mayor, for instance, check that, and building in wetlands and things like that.
You see, the Lord Mayor is still going to maintain the powers to make laws, bylaws, ordinances for the city. But the implementation of those laws, of those ordinances, or those bylaws, is going to be the work of the ED.
Yes.
So in terms of setting the strategies, enacting the laws, and giving directives, the Lord Mayor is still a powerful person. He's still going to do that. But the actual implementation is going to be a preserve of the ED. But the catch is, the ED, under the law, is authorized to implement lawful decisions of the council.
Lawful decisions?
Yes.
So if he breaks the law, that he can...
The implication there is that he can decide, or she can decide, that a particular decision is not lawful.
The ED?
Yeah.
Right.
Secondly, the ED also works under the directive of the minister.
Right.
The minister in charge of the city. So the minister can issue directives, which directives, under the law, can overrule the decision of the authority. That's where the problem lies.
And hide under that.
Yeah, and hide under that. The minister can issue directives. He can rescind, vary, or quash decisions of the authority. You see? So the decision of the Lord Mayor of the authority may not necessarily be a final decision. It can be disobeyed by the ED, it can be varied or rescinded by the minister under the new law.
So what kind of relationship can we expect to see? Are we going to see a ping-pong game? President Museveni said, you bring me an opposition person, we shall see.
Well, I pray it doesn't turn out that way. My worry is that given the person who has now won the Lord Mayor of Kampala and the attitude of central government, you're most likely going to see some acrimony. The people's power is going to be pitted against the powers of the ED and the powers of the central government, which I think is unfortunate, because I think power belongs to the people. They must be exercised in accordance with their aspiration. So you're going to have a situation where you have a Lord Mayor who represents the popular decision of the people,
yes,
and you have a minister and an ED responsible and who reports to the president and parliament, disobeying the people's will. And I see that is going to be a dangerous thing to do.
And I think, just in addition to my brother's comments, one, first of all, ordinarily there wouldn't have been much difference, except that we're used to a community where, say, somebody abuses power. It's basically a question of abusing power. Even in the past, for example, if you looked at things like accountability, these were done by the town clerk,
yes,
the general administration, even appraisal of staff, as it is here in Section 17 of the Act itself. The functions of the mayor, basically, to be the Lord Mayor, that is political head, preside over meetings. This is what Haji Sebagala has been doing.
To host guests.
To host guests. But it also depends on the personality you're talking about. Because there are people who actually did not have those powers, but have been exercising them. I'll give you an example. One day when they closed that road, which they sold it to somebody,
the small road,
that small road,
which Sebagala sold.
Yes, I had occasion to look at very ridiculous. I had occasion to look at the lease agreement. It was signed by Sebagala himself.
And he wasn't supposed to do that?
No, because there is a whole land board. There's a district land board which was supposed to do this. But more shameful than that is the following day, the man came and disowned the whole transaction on camera. I saw him.
Right.
Then 3 days later, they create another road, an alternative road, and those things are up again, and Sebagala was nowhere to question. What am I bringing out? The point I'm bringing out is that if you have somebody who is prone to abusing authority, whether you have this or not,
they will still abuse it.
He will abuse authority because they have abused it before. That's number one.
Well, the current mayor is a very creative man selling roads.
Now, the acrimony or the danger that may be there is where you bring an executive director who interprets the law and says, no, that's not a lawful decision. And you have a Lord Mayor who understands the law.
Yes.
He's a man of the law. He says, no, this is what the law says. So the point is, are you going to have the council, the authority suing itself, or suing the executive director, or suing the central government? And three, or finally on this, is where you have a state, the government machinery that is prone to abusing the law. I mean, they've done it many times.
All right.
And the way you're going to have the central government abuse the law and say, Lord Mayor, you have no power, notwithstanding how many votes you
So
get.
we might end up in court.
Yeah. Well, that is my wish, that in the event of a problem, go to court.
Interpret the law.
Yes, use the law.
This is Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight we're looking at the aftermath of the mayoral election in Kampala. We're going for a break. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Smooth. I'd like to think so. Rich? One day. Black? Obviously.